Kirsty, when might a business need additional support from Kirk Rice?
Yeah, so I think there's three main scenarios here. There's one, a big disaster scenario. All of a sudden, maybe a senior finance person walks out. Hopefully that doesn't happen too often, but it can happen. Perhaps they're really unwell. All of a sudden, they can't work. So there is no time for them to write up a recovery plan or do a handover. They're just not available. That would be the first scenario, which is quite impactful. The second situation is where the organisation knows that something's coming up. Somebody may be out of the picture for a while. So maternity leave, paternity leave, adoption leave. Maybe somebody needs an operation. They know when it's scheduled for. Maybe there's some recovery time involved. And in those respects, the business may have a plan. But then for whatever reason, that plan isn't enough or it goes wrong. And actually, we're sort of back to scenario one again, where there's a sudden problem, cover needs to be put in place, and whatever plan they had wasn't sufficient. I think the third scenario is maybe not so sudden and not so obvious, but you may, for example, have a finance team where for many years they've been doing a great job, very confident, getting through all the finance work, the business is compliant, everything's going really well. And then over time, the business owners or other members of the senior team start to see some things going wrong. Maybe they're not getting management information on time like they used to. Perhaps there's a dip in confidence in the finance team, or something's just not quite right. That could be for many reasons. The business has grown, that team's been underinvested in, whatever it is. And that's slightly different in that it's not happening all of a sudden, but the impact is still not great. And those are, I guess, the three different situations where support could be required.
Okay, interesting. So there's a few different scenarios there. As a business owner, what if I just went, okay, we can get through this, we can keep calm and carry on, as it were, and just carry on without needing without going for any additional support from Kirk Rice. We'll just carry on as we're going. Don't bring in someone to fill that gap, or don't try and bring our finance team back up to speed.
I think there are some basic and more obvious impacts. So you're going to continue to not get what you need to make timely decisions, whether that's your management accounts or other accounting information that you'd normally get. Something that maybe doesn't seem quite so obvious is the impact on the team. So if you had somebody fairly senior leave or be out of the picture and you're not proactively finding a solution to that problem, and you're thinking, well, my team can just step up a bit, you're bound to have people who think, well, I'm a bookkeeper or I'm a finance manager, I'm not a finance director, I'm not a financial controller. That person normally reviews my work, or they usually do this more complicated piece of work. Am I going to be expected to do that? I've not been given training to do that. That will probably cause a lot of stress in the team, and actually you'll see a further deterioration in the work that's being done. You may have a business that's been really compliant for years, getting their various returns in on time, no errors, no bad feedback, getting payroll done for staff, and you might just start to see more niggles. But eventually, you have to invest in the finance team. And I would say, especially with those disaster scenarios that we talked about, especially the more senior person, if they've gone, there's a big gap there, quite frankly, and it does need some help to sort it out.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like it would have quite a few knock-on effects throughout the business. very detrimental knock-on effects, and it would just snowball because, of course, finance is the backbone of the business. If it's not being taken care of, the rest of it was going to suffer. So what can a business owner do about it? What are the steps they can take to help mitigate things?
If I take this one, I guess in terms of the steps, it's communication to a professional such as Kirk Rice. You obviously, there are different scenarios. You may know something's coming up, and you can sort of plan for that with a bit more time and work out what's needed, and what resources are needed, and what time, what level of resources. Whereas sometimes, as Kirsty says, it's a bit of a, oh gosh, something's happened quite quickly, and what do we do about it? But equally, it's the same discussion. It's still, okay, let's communicate that as early as possible and talk to the business, work out what they need, and work out what's missing, where we need to fill the gaps. And really, at either end of that spectrum, we can jump in and help wherever needed, really. We've done this numerous times, and it's a well kind of worn path of we've got so much expertise that we can jump in, work out what's needed in terms of your business, what compliance is needed, when it's needed, what support the rest of the team need. We can ask the right questions and really try and give support off the back, really, straight away, and fill that gap so that, there isn't any risk of things being delayed or any stress on the rest of the team. And just get the ball rolling with it with really as little disruption as possible.
Sounds great. And I guess depending on the situation, there's different levels of preparedness that Kirk Rice can help with. So obviously if it's someone's about to go off on maternity or they're going to have an operation, Kirk Rice can have the conversations with them, get the handovers, even if it's they prepared the handovers for someone else who's suddenly not available. That handover is there. You've got that information there. When it's a bit more of a immediate disaster issue, then maybe that information is not there. You have to piece it a bit more together, but there's a bit of hand-holding there with the business owner going, okay, don't panic, we can sort this out.
Exactly. We've been in both of those situations, and you get through both. Ultimately, if you've got the person there and you can hand over with them and talk to them, obviously that is a better situation to be in than in the first sort of disaster scenario. But equally, we know what questions we should be asking. We can work out what needs to happen. We can look at the software. We can look at the processes. We can talk to the rest of the finance team. We can piece it together like a jigsaw puzzle quite easily. Really, you just need to have that communication with who is there, and we can do a bit of, digging into software, a bit of fact finding, and then come up with a plan and talk through that plan with the business and what that means. Whether that is a person, helping remotely for a little bit every single day, whether that is something more senior that's a finance director and you need a more senior person come in and have that presence and be able to support the team. Really, we can flex up, flex down with whatever's needed at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it sounds like one of the big advantages of getting in Kirk Rice as opposed to just trying to bring in an individual consultant would be that we've got that team there of different levels, and obviously there's that backup that if, say, Bex, you're in as the senior person on a project to provide cover, but then you've fallen down the stairs and hurt your leg, so you've got to go to the hospital, that I or Amy or someone else on the team can help step up. We've got the process now, we can fill that gap. So there's always that backup there to help fill that situation.
Yeah, exactly. If a disaster was to happen at our end, we've still got staff around to be able to help. So we have that team ready and waiting, really.
Brilliant. And so then the business owners had the conversation with Kirk Rice. We've come in, we've helped support at whatever level we needed, or multiple levels, whether that be senior level or just literally bookkeeping. What's the optimal position from the business? What are they looking as the best situation at the end? Is it that they get someone in to replace that financial controller and we can do the handover to them, or is it that actually we can continue doing that, providing that service on an ongoing basis, and they've got that better support?
Exactly what you've just said. You can work in different ways. You know, if actually it works better that it was then outsourced to Kirk Rice and that team, that works fine, and that's what the business needs. Or actually, if they need, help in recruiting someone else, or if it is just simply a stopgap until they find someone or someone's back from maternity leave. Really, it's just getting the business up to speed and, working through any compliance returns that need to happen, all of those things that they can sort of tick off in someone else's absence, so that you haven't got any nasty surprises that come along. You've done all the compliance work and it's all sorted and we've filled that gap for you. But just having someone that there's got the expertise to really help out and think about the future as well. Like you say, what does that mean? Does that mean us coming in to and outsource the work to us, or does that mean hiring someone else? Like I said before, it's that whole flex up, flex down approach that we can just make sure that there's a streamlined process and there's no holes and everyone's happy and the business is getting what they need to get, and it doesn't feel like they have lost someone. That's where you want to be, don't you? You want to be that it's streamlined and everything's working as it should ultimately.
I think sometimes it's it's a short-term thing, and it's coming in and just bringing in that stability, so that the business owner can stop worrying about the thing that wasn't happening or that was going wrong, and until, as you said, that person returns or somebody's brought on board that can do that role then permanently, or in the other scenario, and probably going back to a team that needs more ongoing support, it can be a more regular thing. And like you said, it's visits, or it's remote, or it's whatever works for the business. And we've certainly, done a lot of both. But it's also flexible through time. So a business owner might say, I'd like you to come in every week. And then after a while, we might say, okay, I actually don't think we need to come in every week anymore. I think this person's built up some skills. We've made some improvements there, or whatever. Oh, this person's come back. That doesn't need to be covered. And they might say, oh, well, some of the feedback I've had from, I don't know, the senior finance manager or whoever is, they'd like you to keep your hand in on this area because they think that's a bit more complicated, and we might just go in once a quarter. I mean, that's quite a normal thing, isn't it, to actually go and visit the business and go in and say, okay, these are the things that you were finding a bit more difficult. Here's some ad hoc but regular support. So it can come in all shapes and sizes. And it is down to what the business needs, and it's what they need at the time as well. I think that's what's important. And it's being able to go to the business owner and say, actually, this is what we advise, or actually, you don't need us involved as much anymore because this has happened and this has evolved, and your team is now working solidly, and we're not seeing the issues that you were suffering from before.
I guess as well, because they've had Kirk Rice in there at that one time, there's always Kirk Rice as a backup if something else happens in the future, or once they've got that new person in or back and they've taken on that more day to day, then because Kirk Rice then know the business, they could help. We could help with any projects they want, or help improving things, or just there is a stopgap for any issues they might have in future.
It's a bit like future proofing.
Yeah.
That you have got that option down the line if you ever need it. Like Kirsty says, it's just working with what the business needs at whatever point in time.
Perfect. Brilliant. Thank you very much. And anything else you guys want to say on this? Or we're all good?
No,
I think it's just keeping that flexibility in mind. And I think you made a very good point, which is actually, even if we have stepped away, if the business needs us to do something else, we can come back and have another conversation at a later date, because we already know the business really well. So
that point, it's
a
easier.
good point, well made. Yeah. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Definitely.